Respectfully to NLE Choppa, I would just like to know, are you talking gangster shit that you want to get into it with this niggas? Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I think Youngboy is attracted to niggas that's down to kill and die. I'm gonna be honest. Youngboy's attracted to niggas who's down to kill and die. He's still on that. Not saying he's sanctioning nothing, but those are the people he likes to surround himself with. I don't think NLE Choppa is talking that energy. I think he's talking about artistically.
NLE Choppa just dropped yet another diss track aimed at NBA Youngboy, and this time it's really getting quite awkward. Fam, this Memphis rapper who once openly declared Youngboy his favorite artist, is now relentlessly throwing shots every few weeks, and the underlying reason for this shift will absolutely shock you. Beneath all these silly dance moves and frequent biblical references, Choppa has been watching his career numbers plummet, while Youngboy continues to dominate. He has apparently concluded that the only way to grab attention is to constantly challenge the industry's reigning king. The true story behind why this former superfan transformed into Youngboy's most irritating rival involves broken contracts, fractured friendships, and a desperate grab for relevance that appears more pathetic than genuinely threatening. What's good, fam? We are about to delve deep into some serious industry desperation that has been unfolding right before our eyes, yet most people haven't fully grasped what's actually happening. Now, before we get into this whole mess, let me be completely honest with you all. Social media has been buzzing about Choppa's new track Hello Revenge, with many wondering why this guy just won't leave Youngboy alone. But listen, we are here to separate the facts from the fiction, the truth from the lies. October 2025. That's the specific month when everything became undeniably clear regarding NLE Choppa's true intentions. This Memphis rapper unexpectedly dropped his first Youngboy diss KO out of nowhere, and suddenly everyone was perplexed because these two hadn't had any real beef in years. Now, hold on a moment before you start thinking this is some authentic street conflict. This is pure desperation, thinly disguised as gangster rap. But here's where things get really intense. The statistics are undeniable, and Choppa has been struggling significantly. Just look at the streaming data, fam. Choppa's recent projects are barely scraping 1 million views, while Youngboy effortlessly pulls in tens of millions. His last few singles have flopped harder than a fish out of water, and he clearly realized he can't keep simply remixing Shotta flow for the remainder of his career. The algorithm rewards controversy, and Choppa discovered that merely mentioning Youngboy's name was like hitting a cheat code for instant engagement. Every reaction channel, every hip-hop blog, every social media platform ignites with activity when these two names are associated. So, check this out. Let's rewind to 2018, which is when this entire story truly began. NLE Choppa was just a 15-year-old kid from Memphis with aspirations of making it big in rap, and NBA Youngboy was undeniably his absolute favorite artist. We are talking about a genuine, dedicated fan here. Choppa was remixing Youngboy's songs, emulating his distinct style, and was even constantly compared to him. This wasn't just casual admiration either. Choppa literally built the foundation of his early career using Youngboy's blueprint. The aggressive delivery, the raw street narratives, even the structure of his stage name. NLE, standing for No Love Entertainment, mirrored NBA, which stood for Never Broke Again. The influence was undeniable. In February 2019, during an interview with Hip Hop DX, when directly asked about his favorite artists, Choppa explicitly named NBA Youngboy, Meek Mill, and Lil Durk. That's documented proof of his admiration. Not some attempt to rewrite history, but his fanboy behavior extended beyond just interviews. Choppa was actively studying Youngboy's entire music catalog, meticulously learning his flows, and even remixed Through the Storm, rebranding it Through the Rain, on one of his early mixtapes. This was a young artist genuinely attempting to capture that same captivating energy that made Youngboy so magnetic. The Memphis scene differed from Baton Rouge, but Choppa clearly saw how Youngboy's raw authenticity resonated with fans globally. He desired that same powerful connection, that same ability to transform hardship into platinum-selling records. But here's where complications started. March 2019. Tensions first began to brew when some of Choppa's associates went live on Instagram, speaking recklessly about Youngboy, calling him fake, and questioning his street credibility. Choppa tried to manage the situation, telling them to calm down because he was live with 2,000 viewers. The exact comments were shocking. One of his crew members called Youngboy a lame and asserted he wasn't a real killer. This was disrespectful on multiple levels, especially coming from people connected to someone who claimed to be a fan. Youngboy caught wind of this disrespect and immediately went live himself to address it. He firmly stated, "Ain't no killer," and made it absolutely clear he would not tolerate such disrespect. But here's the crazy part. Choppa promptly went back on live, attempting to squash the beef, reiterating that Youngboy was his favorite rapper and he desperately wanted to collaborate on music with him. This was the first indication that Choppa was caught between maintaining his street image and his genuine admiration for Youngboy. He couldn't control his crew's words, but he also didn't want to lose the respect of his idol. The damage, however, was already done. In Youngboy's world, respect is paramount, and allowing your associates to disrespect someone is perceived as a sign of weakness. This incident planted the initial seed of distrust. In 2019, when Youngboy was incarcerated due to a probation violation, Choppa actually recorded an entire song titled "Free Youngboy," expressing genuine love and support. This wasn't some manufactured industry move. This was sincere admiration from a young rapper who looked up to YB as his main inspiration. The track even sampled Youngboy's Free Dog beat, demonstrating the depth of the influence. But listen, this is where the story extends beyond mere fan worship. You see, Choppa began conducting himself differently once he achieved some personal success. On June 19, 2019, he became involved in an altercation with Quando Rondo in Houston, and that's when everything changed permanently. According to Quando's account, he was at a venue minding his own business when some of Choppa's associates approached him, instigating trouble. The tension was immediate. This was not an accidental encounter or a misunderstanding. Choppa's people arrived actively seeking confrontation. When Choppa himself showed up with his crew, the situation quickly escalated. Quando threw a Hennessy bottle at one of them, causing a severe facial injury and leaving blood everywhere. Security intervened to break up the fight, but the damage was already done, both to the injured individual and to any hope of peace. Quando immediately went live afterward, showing no remorse and openly bragging about the incident. He claimed Choppa's associate needed stitches from his forehead down to his nose and even offered $40,000 for Choppa to post a photo of his injured friend. But here's the most embarrassing detail. After all that tough talk and street posturing, Choppa was actually sliding into Quando's DMs, attempting to make peace. Quando exposed these private messages, showing Choppa writing, "I don't know if you with me, but I just want to tell you keep turning up and stay safe out there. Now, in both the streets and the industry, we understand that you cannot maintain a good relationship with someone's enemies and expect to remain friends with them." But Choppa's situation was unique, because he attempted to play both sides while publicly aligning himself with Youngboy's biggest rivals. The real kicker, though, is that Choppa started growing close to King Von and Lil Durk's camp. This wasn't just casual industry networking. Von and Choppa were regularly spending time together, playing video games, genuinely building a friendship while both were on house arrest. When Von tragically died in November 2020 after that altercation with Quando Rondo's crew, Choppa posted deeply emotional tributes, referring to Von as his brother. The grief was genuine, but so were the implications of that loyalty. January 2022. That's when everything erupted. Youngboy was preparing to release his Colors mixtape and dropped Bring the Hook, in which he directly dissed King Von. The lyrics were brutal. Youngboy was speaking ill of a deceased person, which crossed traditional lines in hip-hop culture. Academics tweeted about Youngboy being on Demon Time, and Lil Reese responded saying that wasn't Demon Time, just regular rap. Here's where Choppa made his critical error. He replied to Reese's tweet, stating, "I stamp that. This action officially chose sides in a conflict that initially had nothing to do with him." This wasn't merely a casual cosign. In the specific context of that beef, stamping Reese's statement meant agreeing that Youngboy was wrong for dissing Von, which effectively meant taking Chicago's side against Baton Rouge. 2 days after that controversial tweet, Youngboy released "No, Like I Know," and fam, that track was different. This wasn't just a diss track. This was a chilling death threat set to music. Youngboy openly rapped about how Choppa's mother would be devastated if he decided to kill him for choosing sides. Let me break down some of these lyrics for you all because they were truly unsettling. Youngboy declared, "Your mama going to be crying when she see you in that coffin." That's not mere rap beef. That's a direct promise. He referenced how Choppa used to call Youngboy his favorite rapper, warning him to stay in his lane or risk getting his face split. The track even mentioned Choppa's healthy eating phase, dismissing it as fake, and directly referenced his past relationship with Youngboy's ex-girlfriend, Young Blasian. Youngboy was attacking him from every conceivable angle, personal, professional, and psychological. The most chilling part was when Youngboy sang in that haunting tone, "I want your soul," while reminding Choppa that he would die for taking sides. This was psychological warfare disguised as a song. and it was effective because Choppa went completely silent afterward. But the threats did not cease there. Youngboy mentioned Choppa's cars, his Instagram posts, and even his mother, who manages his career. He was sending a clear message to Choppa that he was watching his every move, and nothing was off limits. The interlude was particularly menacing, with Youngboy expressing surprise that Choppa's parents weren't advising him to avoid this beef. That's when you realize the seriousness of the situation. When someone threatens your family's peace of mind. For those of you who might not fully grasp the industry dynamics, let me explain. When a major artist like Youngboy disses you with that level of intensity, you essentially have three options: respond immediately and fiercely, quietly accept the loss, or completely disappear from the conversation. Choppa chose option 3 for 2 entire years. This prolonged silence spoke volumes. If Choppa was truly about that street life, he would have responded instantly. Instead, he went quiet, focused on his spiritual journey, and began promoting healthy eating and meditation essentially. Everything contrary to the street image he once projected. During this period, Choppa was clearly affected by the diss. He dramatically altered his entire public persona, speaking about healing, positivity, and moving away from negative energy. While this shift was likely beneficial for his mental well-being, it also undeniably showed that Youngboy's words had a profound impact. The transformation was dramatic. The same person who was projecting a tough image and aligning with street politics suddenly became a wellness advocate, promoting herbs and meditation. Fans noticed the change and many respected his personal growth, but it also raised questions about his authenticity as a street artist. Meanwhile, Youngboy continued to flourish. His career continued its ascent, his fan base expanded exponentially, and he never once mentioned Choppa again. Youngboy's sustained silence was in fact more damaging than any subsequent diss track could have been. But here's what's truly calculated about this entire situation: the precise timing of Choppa's renewed attempts to diss. 2024 arrives, and suddenly this individual remembers he has a beef. Let's examine what changed. Youngboy just concluded his Ma I Got a Family tour, reportedly grossing $75 million and selling out major arenas across the country. His name consistently trends on social media, his music videos garner massive views, and he is arguably the most talked about rapper in hip-hop right now. Meanwhile, Choppa has been struggling significantly to maintain relevance. His recent projects are receiving lukewarm reception, his streaming numbers are declining, and he simply cannot recapture the magic of Shotta flow, no matter how many times he attempts to remix it or create sequels. The numbers unequivocally tell the whole story. Choppa's last few releases are barely breaking 1 million views, while Youngboy's regularly pulls in 10 to 20 million. His Spotify monthly listeners are steadily dropping, while Youngboy's remain consistently in the tens of millions. Now, this isn't solely about wounded feelings or street credibility. This is fundamentally about numbers, algorithms, and career survival. When Choppa dropped KO in October 2024, it garnered more attention than anything he had released in months. The YouTube comments, the reaction videos, the social media buzz, all because he dared to mention Youngboy's name. The evidence is undeniably clear in the data. KO likely received more views in its first week than his last 3 regular songs combined. The algorithm thrives on controversy, and Choppa clearly figured out that dissing the most talked about rapper in hip-hop was his ticket back to relevance. Just look at Hello Revenge. All those choreographed dance moves, biblical references, and Michael Jackson impressions cannot disguise the fact that this is manufactured drama. Choppa is trying so hard to present this as artistic and profound, but it is ultimately just desperation with a budget. The video opens with a Genesis 1:1 reference, attempting to frame this as some spiritual battle between good and evil. He is quoting scripture while performing choreographed dance moves, which creates a strange disconnect between the intended message and the actual presentation. In the track he states, "They say, why be better who I'm the proof that ain't no statement, and put top in the lake." These are direct jabs at Youngboy, but delivered in such an overly theatrical manner that it is difficult to take seriously. He's even placing billboards in Baton Rouge, seemingly trying to provoke a reaction, but Youngboy has already made it clear he won't respond to people he deems irrelevant. In his Zero IQ freestyle, Youngboy explicitly stated, "Respond to him?" I said, "No." That is the ultimate dismissal. The desperation is glaringly obvious when you observe the pattern. First KO, then immediately, Hello Revenge, just weeks later. This is not organic beef. This is content creation disguised as street politics. This entire situation reflects a larger problematic trend within hip-hop culture. We have shifted from authentic beef rooted in genuine issues to manufactured controversy meticulously designed to manipulate algorithms. Artists are learning that negative attention is still attention, and attention ultimately translates to money. Consider how the industry has reacted to this. Youngboy's inner circle, including his own mother, have essentially dismissed Choppa as irrelevant. His mother even stated she would only be bothered if the disses came from someone who truly mattered, not from an artist people don't actually listen to. Reaction channels are treating this entire spectacle as entertainment rather than a genuine conflict. Comment sections are filled with people mocking Choppa instead of taking his efforts seriously. Even his own fanbase is questioning his current strategy. But here's what's truly intriguing. This strategy might actually backfire on Choppa in the long run. By positioning himself as the desperate artist chasing clout, he is actively damaging his own brand. Fans respect authenticity, and this ain't it. The numbers also confirm this. While his diss tracks might initially garner attention, they are not translating into sustained success for his regular music. It's like a sugar rush, temporary energy followed by an inevitable crash. Ultimately, NLE Choppa's situation is not merely about wanting trouble with Youngboy. It's about a former fan who has realized that his idol has become his only viable path back to relevance. And that, when you truly reflect on it, is quite sad. The transformation from genuine admiration to manufactured antagonism reveals how easily the industry can corrupt relationships and twist pure inspiration into desperate measures. Choppa went from composing tribute songs to making desperate attempts to start a beef, and the culture is seeing right through it. This entire timeline proves that sometimes the biggest enemy to an artist's career is their own desperation. Instead of concentrating on producing better music or carving out his unique lane, Choppa chose to chase controversy, and it is making him appear weak rather than strong. The psychological aspect is also fascinating. Imagine idolizing someone, then having them threaten your life on a track, then remaining silent for years, only to reappear when your career urgently needs help. That is a complex emotional journey that likely impacts how Choppa views himself as an artist. The crucial question is, how long can you keep dissing someone who refuses to acknowledge your existence? Choppa's strategy might yield him temporary attention, but it is not building him a sustainable career. Eventually, people grow weary of manufactured drama. And then what is left? Youngboy's silence is, in fact, the most powerful response he could possibly offer. By refusing to engage, he is demonstrating that Choppa is not worth his time or energy, which is likely more damaging than any diss track could ever be. This situation also highlights the stark difference between authentic street beef and industry-driven manufactured controversy. Real beef carries genuine consequences, real emotions, real stakes. This feels much more like a marketing campaign that spiraled out of control. What are your thoughts on Choppa's repeated attempts to gain Youngboy's attention? And do you believe this strategy will prove effective in the long term? Do you perceive this as genuine beef or simply career desperation? Is there any conceivable way for Choppa to recover his credibility after this blatant pursuit of clout? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and check out the video on screen breaking down Youngboy's complete dismissal of all this manufactured drama.